the Phoenix Suns. Now, coming into this season, I did have questions because typically those teams that come up with these big threes, I think there's enough examples now to safely say it rarely works. It rarely works. And Kevin Durant was part of one of them, unfortunately. And I love Kevin Durant. I'm not going to sit here and slander him for that, whatever it is. But those teams typically don't work because top-heavy teams typically don't work. I've mentioned what I believe the championship formula is. It's shot making, it's defense, and it's role players being able to be a star in their role. Mm-hmm. And those teams are usually missing that third one. So coming into this season with the Phoenix Suns, I was like, and I never fell into there's one ball thing because great players know that and they are able to make things work, as we saw in Miami with Wade, Bosh, and LeBron. And I also knew Devin Booker had the playmaking chops. I didn't know this good, but I knew he could do it. But that wasn't the question. The question for the Suns was who else is going to step up? And I understand Kevin Durant's been amazing. Devin Booker just averaged 42 points per game last week. So there's not even much we got to say about him. And Bradley Beal, he's come back into form and kind of not been himself from 2 years ago, but he's been Bradley Beal, which is kind of all this team needs. But if I were the type of person to hate players, I would hate what I'm about to say. But man, Grayson Allen been hooping.
God damn.
I understand, like, he's not like it is what it is. He's been hooping.
That's all you can say because it's true. Like he's been exactly what they've needed. He's been a spark plug. He's been a catch and shoot 3-point shooter. He's taken on more assignments defensively. Not to say he's a lockdown defender, but the team defensively isn't falling apart like some thought they could be. And he's, to be honest, he's probably their fourth most important player. I guess Nurkic is up there with him. Mm-hmm. But, even in some moments, they're third. Like, just because you need him to, like you said, man, players who star in their role, that to me is the entire difference between a championship team and like a team who's just really good is, we got that guy to buy in just a little bit more. Or we put that guy in the right spot and he bought into that spot. And Grayson Allen has been doing that to a T. He's, 13.5 points in the month of January. I'm just going off of January because I do want to state this, and it's not to completely discredit the first, 2023 version of the season for this team, but they've only recently been healthy.
Yeah.
The big three, as, everybody knows, Booker, Beal, Durant have been playing. So, that's kind of, I'm taking the January approach because that's the most recent sample size we've gotten of continuous play from everybody, just from top to bottom on the team, roughly. And 53, 57, 85 splits. Grayson Allen. Like, talk about starring in your role. What is he being asked to do? Please catch and shoot the ball. He's shooting 8 attempts, almost 5.5 for 3. Like, and he's hitting them. Like, he's doing his job as a basketball player, as what he's being asked to do is like, look, we got 3 guys. Spacing was an issue, or I would say, I don't want to say an issue. I would want to say a question mark. A lot of these guys operate. They love that midi. Beal, Booker, Durant, 3 of the most prolific mid-range scorers basketball had seen for a little bit. Probably 3 of the top 10 mid-range scorers basketball had seen. So recently, talking about active, obviously. So, them getting that extra spacing, it's different shooting 2 sometimes than it is a 3. You need some people to take that pressure off, space the floor so they can get to these 2s. Grayson's been doing that, man. Yeah, but man, I want to ask you, Kenny. Because you mentioned Booker's playmaking.
Yeah.
How much have you seen that improve? Because I knew he could pass. I didn't know he could play make. 2 different things.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say I saw this coming, but he's always kind of shown the flashes of being able to. But just got to kind of remember, so the teams he played with before, he had Chris Paul there to where you let Chris Paul do that. I don't care how old he is. If Chris Paul's on your team, you let him play, make decisions. All due respect to Book, but it is what it is. And the eras before that, the Suns just weren't really good. And so when he would have make these good decisions, he just wasn't really passing the guys who could do much with it. And so now he's able to really take advantage of what his teammates give him the space to do also, which allows him to score, which now you have to worry about him. And now he gets to really dish the ball out and really play making all that stuff. And I think the thing is, just in general, even not necessarily fully aside from that, but I kind of don't like the word take, but my viewpoint on this in general is I think we in general as basketball fans kind of have to get rid of the depth chart mindset, which is all right, he's the point guard, so he has to do this, or he's a shooting guard, he has to do that. I don't think that's really the NBA anymore.
Absolutely not.
I think aside from like Tyrese Halliburton and LaMelo Ball when he's healthy, there's not many of those. All right, I'm going to set the table and be a pure point guard guys anymore. Chris Paul, when he's healthy, unfortunately, we have to say that now with him also. And the older guys, and I don't want to say Kyle Lowry because that's going to bring up a whole bunch of that's a sore issue right now for me. But that guy doesn't necessarily exist anymore. It's kind of just like a lot of motion with the good offenses at least, and everybody can kind of play making a sense. And so I figured that point guard spot, quote unquote, not really being a strength of this Phoenix team wouldn't really matter as much. But again, I'm not going to sit there and pretend I knew Devin Booker was going to play make this well.
Yeah. His ability to just actually make reads out of pick and rolls, high pick and rolls, not just in terms of him scoring for himself, but hitting skip passes to the corner, hitting the guy after he drives, hitting the guy cutting at a 45-degree angle, finding the guy at the wing instead of the guy at the corner on those 2-on-1s, making the right decision. His turnover, for being as, used, like his usage rate being as high as it is, even with these players, he's having the second best year in terms of turnover percentage he's ever had. But the difference is he's having the ball, because usage rate, it just means whenever you take a shot or you make a pass or it's like you end the possession, his usage rate is still just, right around what his career is, but his assist percentage is literally the highest it's ever been, aside from 1 year, a while before Chris Paul got there. So it's just his ability to play make, his ability to take a step. I don't want to say take a step back, but just to take on this newfound responsibility while still giving you the aggression that Devin Booker brings. Yeah. Because I fully believe, man, if he had been healthy enough and this team had been healthy enough and they've been playing together like this, he'd be in discussions for first team. I think he should still be, maybe even MVP discussions, because he's been this good, man. Like he's been special. We saw last week he got player of the week. They went 1-2. He dropped 50 points a game. Yeah. Like shit like that. You don't see that in 3 games. A player scoring 152 points in 3 NBA games should surprise you. Doesn't matter what era of basketball we're in. If offense is going up, it's still shocking. But
and for whatever reason, Devin Booker's still kind of underrated in a sense. And I don't say that as in like he doesn't get credit, because he does get talked about by the people who kind of know. But I think even still with the people who know how good he is, I think we don't really acknowledge just how good he is.
Exactly.
Because to be able to leverage your scoring ability, and it's all reads. It's not easy reads. He's not premeditating his scoring. He's not premeditating his passing. It's whatever I'm able to make the defense do. Because all the offense is making the defense make a decision. Whether it's like, if it's a simple pick and roll, all you're doing is you're making the defense show their hand. How they're covering it, who they're helping off of, if they're switching, if they're in a drop, if the teams don't really hedge often, but make the defense show their hand and then make a decision from there and just make them pay for whatever it is, because you're going to have a hole in the defense somewhere, because they're kind of, in a sense, not necessarily reacting to what you're doing, but they kind of have to in a sense. So it's creating those advantages. And he creates advantages, whether it's for his teammates or for himself, seemingly every time he touches the ball. And that is not easy to do. There are good players who can't do that. There are great players who can't do that. it's like him and a couple other guys in class of their own as far as that goes. And
yeah,
go ahead.
no, yeah, he's been sensational. I think, like you said, Bradley Beal just kind of coming back, getting reasserted. It's been a question mark. Obviously, the question mark: how are they going to play together? And I think we got a big enough sample size to know very fucking good. Let me tell you. 678 possessions per cleaning the glass. This does not count today's game. Their offensive rating with all three of them on the court, 130.8. 100th percentile. Their defensive rating, 113.4. That's slightly above average. That was a question mark too. Defensively, can they survive? Especially because when you look at that lineup, like they don't really have like a lockdown defender. Like Nurkic isn't a lockdown rim protector. I think KD is a very good defender. I think he gets overlooked in that aspect. I think Booker brings intensity defensively. Grayson Allen has done that. But no, I don't want to say they don't have like a depoy candidate. They don't have even an all NBA defensive player candidate. It's just team concept, slowing the game down. Who would have thought that controlling pace can help a defense so much? But it's 131 offensive rating. Talk about man. Just talk about it in general. God damn. That's when I saw that I was like, holy I knew it was working because I've seen some of the games recently. Yeah. But it's just that's a different tier, man.
And that's the thing, and that's kind of why I don't really ever buy into there's only one ball thing. Because just because a guy can score doesn't mean he's a selfish player. And we know, and we're gonna get to him in a second, trust me, but we know about Kevin Durant and his efficiency. So it's not like either of those guys is out there just chucking. Well, Bradley Beal had to a couple of years ago because he was kind of in Washington by himself. Yeah. But none of those guys are looking to go out there and chuck shots up and get their stats. They're trying to win. They just know what they're good at. I guess they all leverage their scoring. Devin Booker, I believe, is probably the best at leveraging the scoring and then mixing in the playmaking. But they all do that in a sense. Now, Bradley Beal, he's going to get into rhythm at some point. He's not been bad. But
At all.
He's not been bad at all. But I think the thing with him, with these teams, when they have worked, there has been a guy who I don't want to necessarily say demoted himself, but decided I don't need like Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh, before he got to Miami, was a 20-10 guy. And he was like, well, this isn't really going to work here. It's a different era now, so you can still get your points, and it'll still look like this juggernaut of a thing because there's more possessions. And like I mentioned, this is an efficient team anyway. So but I think Bradley Beal is kind of the guy, and he understands it, that he's a great player, but he's just simply not Kevin Durant or Devin Booker. And I think that's been part of what's worked.
Yeah, his ability to just be, and the team in general, like their ability to establish a pecking order.
Yeah.
To not have egos. It feels like they're all working because the biggest thing with these, the teams that get together with the stars and stuff, is egos. At the end of the day, it is what it is. How players get perceived in the grand scheme of things matters to them.
Yeah.
It feels like this team doesn't have that. It feels like, and even if they do, it feels like, and this is a lot, credit to all three of them. They know the pecking order, and it's not to say Booker is the best one on the team, and then it's Durant, and then it's Beal. It's just to say, look, this is the way the offense is going to flow. It's agreed upon, and it's fucking working. So it doesn't need a switch. They're all being very efficient in the month of January, 54, 55, and 49%, Booker, Durant, Beal. From three, you're looking at 39, 41, and then Beal is at 33%, which we know he's capable of doing more. Obviously, he's just getting into rhythm. It's like they're all damn near 50, 40, 90s. Exception of Beal, but they're crazy efficient. They're getting the looks off, even if they're not shooting 3-pointers at volume. Their diet in the mid range is just so efficient that sometimes you don't need to get all the way to the 3-point, all the way to the rim. Sometimes you don't need to get all the way to you don't need to pull from deep. It's just run your sets, run them crisp, The role players are obviously helping.
Yeah.
You know, Josh Okogie, got to talk about him because it feels like whenever he plays, talk about a guy giving him a defensive identity. It's
Yeah.
Josh Okogie.
Mhm.
It's definitely Josh Okogie. You know, the bigs, like they have two centers that are giving him good minutes between Eubanks and Nurkic. Like the team just feels like they're gelling and they're gelling. They have, you know, 30 games left in the season, 30 more games to get better. But they've been creeping up in the West. I believe they're as high as, if I'm not mistaken, they're as high as 6 when I saw recently.
They've won 8 of the last 10 games.
And they won again today. So whatever that
Oh,
makes
yeah.
it. But yeah, so they're all the way up to 6 recently. Like they've been creeping out of the playing spot. Things are just clicking on all cylinders for this team heading into the, you know, what's going to be the All-Star break and et cetera.
And we have to acknowledge Kevin Durant.
For sure.
We have to, just in the sense of, because it's not only the age thing, which is impressive enough with him being, I believe, 35 years old, and still being an elite player, but also he's been so elite that you'll forget he had injuries to where if he had them 10 years before, his career would be over. And for him to still be one of the best players in the league, still unstoppable, still efficient, I just kind of want you to talk about that because I saw Kevin Durant from the beginning of his career, and he had it from day one, obviously. But
oh man,
for him to still be elite in this way is kind of crazy.
Talk about adapting. It's felt like obviously early in his career, it was kind of his team, you know, with the Westbrook, it was him and Westbrook, but like he was basically the scorer, you know, yada, yada. Like it felt like he's transitioned his role even this year. I think his playmaking has gone up recently. This year he's averaging, I didn't even know it was 6 assists a game, but again, it's just
crazy.
Developing your game at 35, so showing that he can still affect the game in more areas than one, because some, you know, he said it recently. He's like, I think I deserve to be in the GOAT conversation. That's not a discussion for here, but like, you know, people always bring him up in the scoring conversation. Is he the best scorer that has ever graced an NBA floor? But at the same time, now he's more than just a scorer, is my point. He's legitimately doing everything on the court for this team and affecting it in a certain way. And when guys are missing games, he's like, all right, I got you. When Booker or Beal misses, takes a step up, does what he has to do. When they're all on the floor together, he's like, all right, I know what I'm going to do here. I'm going to focus on this and this. Just championship pedigree. You know, he's won it before, knows what it takes, and is, in a sense, I feel like guiding, and him and Booker have the very similar, just like I call it like the it factor. Like they have that attitude that, you know, just clicks. Their intensity is kind of the word I'm looking for. They're very intense people. So it felt like from day one it was going to work. And man, Durant has been every ounce of special that he should be. I was actually having a conversation today with some of my family members just in regards to who is the best American basketball player currently in the NBA. And Durant might be at the top of that list. I'm not here to say he might be or not, but like he's been that special, and he's 35 years old, man. Like it's crazy that he's still at this level doing with the things that he's doing.
Yeah. And so I honestly, to be transparent, I feel like for the listeners, for us to talk about Kevin Durant and not mention any narratives, we deserve to subscribe. I'm not asking for it. I'm not begging for it. I'm not demanding it. I'm just saying, hey, you're not getting that in a whole bunch of other places.